Hey, everybody, and welcome to Crunching Your Growth. I'm your host, Phil Masiello, and today we're diving into a story of resilience, creativity, and entrepreneurial success that started in the most relatable places, someone's kitchen. It's a great product. Our guest, Lance Kezner, co-founder of Keep Life Tasty, turned a kitchen creation into an award-winning product line that not only went viral during COVID, but also secured shelf space at Walmart. So, just on a huge trajectory. With products like Millie sipping broth, Lance is helping people manage stress and anxiety in a delicious way, all while honoring his family's legacy. So we're going to hear how Lance and his wife transformed the idea into a thriving business and the lessons they learned along the way, their mission to bring purpose-driven products to market. And it's a story of grit, innovation, and magic of scaling big ideas. So let's bring Lance in and let's hear the story. Let's talk to him. Lance, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Phil. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Yeah, as I was telling you before the show, I've been drinking the product, and over the last couple of days because I was not feeling well, and it's fantastic, and I really fallen in love with it, especially this particular one. Being Italian, I think the tomato basil just speaks to me, But it's a great product, and you should be very proud of yourself.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm glad it's helping.
Yeah, it is helping. So why don't you take us back and let's hear the story. Why'd you start? How'd you start? What was the motivation?
Well, my wife and I, kind of had an idea of, excuse me, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
it's
My
all right.
dog is getting very excited
That's all
here.
right. That's all right.
My wife and I, back in 2009, really wanted to take control of our financial well-being after a job layoff. And so we started Keep Life Tasty as a way for us to take some of our food innovations to market.
Right.
And we played around with a couple ideas. In fact, the very first product that we came out with became outstanding product of the year at the fancy food show. We didn't know what we were in for. It literally was like drinking water from a fire hose at that point. We had no experience at all. I was in the tech business. She was a teacher. But we realized that if we were going to be successful in the food business, that we had to make some changes to our expectations of, what would make it. And so this product, Millie sipping broth, came out of a need from Lori. She's a teacher, and she needed to have something in the afternoons between classes that would give her kind of like a snack feeling without all kinds of calories. The teachers leave all their snacks and leftover cookies and cakes in the break room, hoping that other people will eat them. And she didn't want to do that. So this was something for her to kind of rely on.
That's great. What was your first product then? It wasn't Millie's?
No, it wasn't Millie's. We started off with a product called Garlic It, which was basically a garlic condiment. Imagine garlic that comes in a jar that is already cooked and ready to eat. I mean, you can eat it straight out of the jar. You can use it on top of pasta, salad, or anything like that. And that was the first, idea. We learned how to work with a co-packer. We learned how to maybe formulate, some ideas around getting our product into the market. But but Millie's really was, we did try a few other products to kind of see, what would be a good idea. But Millie's really is the one that's taken off.
Wow. What happened to Garlic? Do you still have it out there?
We do, yeah. Unfortunately, we're not paying as much attention to it as we kind of had this idea of let's put up a few products and see what takes off, and then we'll pay attention to that. But people still ask us all the time. They still have their favorite flavors of Garlic It, and our friends, kind of expect us to bring it to their houses when we see them. So
Is it like it's like roasted garlic in a jar? Is that?
Yeah. So actually we have one that is just plain cooked. The other one is caramelized garlic in a jar.
Nice.
And and very, very flavorful, a totally different way that garlic is consumed, but challenges with shipping, challenges with, manufacturing on a large scale. And it's a very niche product. It's a very niche category.
Sure. Yeah. And a glass, I'm assuming, right? Packaged in glass.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times, the lids would pop open and oil would get everywhere. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, but during COVID, you said that the products went viral during COVID. What do you think drove that? People,
Yeah. Millie's. Yeah. So we started out direct to consumer at the Pike Place Market in Seattle, where they throw the fish at you. We set up a tent right across the street from the very first Starbucks, sold Millie's on the street. From our previous experience, we knew that we needed to get this idea from our kitchen directly to people as quickly as possible, because when we started, literally was trying to replace Lori's snack. She used to take a bouillon cube to school,
right,
and so this was a replacement for that. We took dried herbs and vegetables and seasoning and put it together, put it in a cup, and she said, "That's great, but it's messy. It's all over the place. Put it in a tea bag." And so we took Lipton tea bags, emptied them out, put the concoction inside. We made about 10 of them the first time, and she took them and put them in the teacher's room next to all the cakes and cookies. And she came back in and they were all gone. And we knew we had something. So we really focused on getting our product as quickly as possible into people's hands to assess the quality, to assess the price, the packaging, everything like that. And so, for years, I mean, it was a very simple idea, but very difficult to make. And so we had to jump through a lot of hoops. We got to a point right before COVID where we were discovered by Weight Watchers International.
oh,
They reached out to us to feature our product on their website to sell to their 4.5 million subscribers.
wow,
They gave us a 0-point ranking, which is the best ranking you can get,
right,
for whatever. And that was right before COVID. And guess what? People were, they were buying food online. They were trying to watch their weight. They were gaining weight. I mean, everything out the window. So that's literally, and then we became the best-selling vegetable broth on Amazon because of the attention from all the Weight Watchers subscribers.
Wow, that's a fantastic way to launch. That's just you couldn't ask for anything better than that. Yeah, I was surprised it's only 10 calories, which I thought was interesting. But I also in the past have used bouillon cubes, and then this other product better than bouillon, but I find that the sodium levels are a little bit too high for me.
Well, those are typically for cooking.
Yeah.
We designed ours for drinking,
Right.
which required a lot less salt and more flavor-oriented components. So
Yeah.
we rely heavier on the dehydrated vegetables and seasonings that really kind of bring out the flavor. We don't have to worry about adding pasta necessarily and losing that flavor because you're
Right.
drinking it.
Right. No, it's like I said, I think it's one of the most. I think it was one of the most well-received launches that I've seen, along with, as we spoke about, Graza and Truff and a couple of others. But I think it was really good because it's a totally unique product, and it's so you really don't have a lot of competition. But of course, you got to be careful because you got to move quickly because you might get other people going, "Hey, this is a good product, easy to replicate," especially on Amazon.
Yeah, we thought when we first started making it that it would be easy to make.
Right.
And we found out that wasn't it at all. I mean, we struggled. We went through several different co-packers who just didn't have the knowledge or the willingness to make something that was literally, we're crashing two categories together here. We're crashing a broth category with tea category, and a lot of these people were not ready for that, including the buyers.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. But so we've been very cognizant of, whoever is going to chase us, and that has driven our prices way down, and our scaling. We've scaled, to a point where we're able to now handle the world's largest retailer in nearly half of their stores in the United States.
So that's no small feat getting into Walmart. How did that process happen? Did you approach them? Did they approach you after the whole Weight Watchers piece? I know they
So
do pay attention to Amazon. They do pay attention to a
yeah,
lot of stuff that's on Amazon. So
they do. I think it's harder now than ever to get the attention of the CPG buyers.
sure.
They're bombarded, literally bombarded with products. We had an opportunity every year. Walmart has something called the open call,
Yep.
which is basically show us what you've got, and it's for every kind of product that they would sell at Walmart,
Yeah.
food, beauty, whatever. And so there were 7,000 products that were submitted. They chose 800 to meet with, 400 in person, 400 virtually. We were chosen to meet on their campus in person.
Yeah.
We went through a meeting, and they had something called a golden ticket, which meant
Yeah.
that they would give you a deal on the spot, and we got a deal on the spot. And
Yeah.
that was only about 70 out of all 7,000. And so we came to find out that they gave us that. And then Sam's Club also wanted to meet with us the day after, and they gave us a golden ticket. We didn't know that was even a possibility.
Right.
So we were, we left, with our heads in a cloud going, what just happened?
Yeah.
We had to keep it quiet for about a year until we got onto the shelves, because as you can imagine, there were a lot of companies that announced, oh, we got a golden ticket, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. Okay, great. Now what?
Yeah.
You've got to be able to produce. You've got to get the price right. You've got to get, the purchase order. There's a lot of steps in between, and we felt that it wasn't appropriate to talk about it until we were actually on the shelf.
Right.
And that happened in October.
Yeah. That's smart. October of 2024.
2023. Yeah. So right in time for the cold weather.
Yeah. Yeah. It's smart not to talk about it. And as much as you want to, you're right. You've got an opportunity, and you want to make sure that you get everything right, because you don't want to, have it fall apart. And getting the purchase orders. We had a brand on this show about a year ago. They were a pasta brand, and they were growing. They started out small in Brooklyn, hand making pasta, and then they started to expand, and they got a entry into Whole Foods nationwide, and they moved into a new facility, bigger, and they expected the purchase order to come, I think, in like January, February, Q1, and it didn't come. And they were stuck with this facility, and they wound up having to lay everybody off, and they were doing it themselves again. And the purchase order didn't come till like Q3. So it really put them in a bind. And meanwhile, they were making decisions off of this. So, you're right. You got to get that purchase order. You've got to make sure you've got everything taken care of. You got to get it squared away, because you don't want to blow the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, it's not only, it's like playing a perfect round of golf, like all the time. I'm serious, because there are so many details and so many aspects of making sure it's not only getting your product to the shelf, but it's keeping it there.
Yep.
It's making sure you have enough inventory, making sure that when equipment breaks down and you have a lapse in product, that you can fill it from some other place. I mean, it's unbelievable. We rely on a partner company that helped us get to this point, and they have an infrastructure of operations and accounting and sales. a small company just could not do it. I mean,
No.
there's just two of us. It's just two of us for the brand. But without this, our partner involved, there's no way that we could, pull this off. And we're very, very thankful for that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it becomes the good news is, you get into a national retailer, you get all that visibility. The bad news is you've got to deal with all the accounting and all the website items and all the things that they want you to do. And but you're right, keeping it on the shelf, making sure you hit those weekly minimums or monthly minimums per store and all. We had a client but I found that Walmart will be very they're very amiable for new products, new category products, something that's different. They give you a lot of sort of slack and leeway to build it. But of course, you have to have a plan and you have to produce and you have to, do your part. But I found that they're very good about finding good products that are entirely totally different. So I could see why they gave you the golden ticket, because there's really nothing out there like it, right? It's not a soup, and it's
right,
not
and we weren't cannibalizing anything in the
right,
soup aisle.
right,
You know, it was okay to put us at eye level, just down from Campbell Soup, because we're not a cooking, we're not a cooking condensed soup like theirs. We're not cannibalizing that. Yeah, we are broth. We're a savory broth that's used on a daily basis and not once in a while for cooking. Completely different idea,
right.
And so we've been fortunate in talking to other buyers where we present it as a totally marginal incremental sale that they wouldn't have
Sure.
received otherwise. And yeah, we're not cannibalizing anything else that they've got there.
Yeah, you're 100% right. That's part of the problem. People come up with products and they're just Me Too products, and then they wind up trying to go into retail with them, and you are cannibalizing. And the buyer, the way that retailers work, the buyer doesn't want to take the risk. So that's why they start charging you slotting, rebates, discounts, accruals, because they're protecting their gross margin. They're saying, well, I already make, $100 per store week on this section. And if I take you in, I'm risking that. So you're basically going to make sure that I don't risk that. But with a new product, a completely new product and a completely new
We're just
idea.
adding to that number. Absolutely.
Exactly.
We're adding to it. Yeah. I mean, and just to show the people who are maybe watching, here's the broth. It's broth in a tea bag. I mean, literally, and Phil knows this really well because he's been drinking it to take care of his throat. But that's it. I mean, putting that into, your mug and
Yeah,
drinking it instead of coffee or tea.
Yeah, I left it in actually because I leave it in because I like the flavor that it comes from. I'm sorry, I like the flavor that it comes from. I just spilled something on my computer, but I like the flavor that it as it sits there, it gets deeper and deeper, or more flavorful. So I really like it, but I have been drinking it, and I tried all of them, all the ones you sent me, which I thought were great. This particular one, tomato and basil, I think just the Italian in me is saying, that's that's the flavor that I'm most familiar with, let's say.
Well, good. Yeah, that was the very first flavor that we started with, and then, we have spicy tortilla, we have Thai lemongrass, and
Yeah,
delight pho. The pho is the most popular flavor out of all of them.
yeah,
It's got a kind of a complicated, when you're tasting it, you're tasting different things all at the same time. It's it's kind of a sensory overload, really. But the the fact that people like it and the fact that people keep coming back to buy it is amazing to us.
well, I could see it being a little bit addictive. It's like I drink a lot of coffee, right, and decaf mostly, but I do drink a lot of coffee, and I drink it all day long when I'm working. And there are times when, towards the end of the day, when I want something hot, especially in the winter, because it's winter here where I am, and it's been very cold. I want something hot, but I don't feel like coffee, so I can see it being addictive, because I've been reaching for it, and it's unique, it's different, it's totally it's a great blending of flavors, and I mean, I can't tell you how much I like the product.
Well,
So,
thank you. I appreciate that. We didn't really plan. I mean, we developed this as a need, satisfy a need for Lori, and realized that it had a broader application. There
yeah,
at the time there were no savory hot beverage items out there. The
right,
category just didn't exist.
sure,
But what has happened, and we've been able to really, with the Weight Watchers gravitating towards it, the wellness application of the broth has really driven the sales. It fits with pretty much every wellness application out there, whether it's keto, intermittent fasting, whatever it is. Now, the big thing that's driving products, and what a lot of products are looking for innovation in, is the GLP-1 drugs,
yeah,
the Wegovy, and all of those types of drugs. The people who are on those things now are consuming less,
yeah,
and so with our application of broth, it's a perfect application for helping them consume more protein. They can use protein powders with the broth, or they can actually be social and have the broth. So imagine going out with a friend to lunch who may be on one of these drugs, who's not going to order, let's say, a salad or something while you're eating. They can order a cup of broth and be satisfied with that, and still be social. And oh, by the way, the food service establishment just made a very high margin on a new way, a new way to satisfy these kinds of customers.
yeah. It's funny you should bring up the GLP-1s. I was just at a conference, and I was listening to food manufacturers talking about how they're trying to redo their products to fit into that niche, into that market for people who are on the GLP-1s, and take away the additives, take away the all the ultra processing, etc. And they find that the GLP-1, uh, you know, people on it are it's eating into their profit. It's eating into their sales. People are eating less. People are buying less. So
Yep.
yeah, I can see. But you also talk about helping people manage stress and anxiety. Is How does that work with the product?
Well, and again, we didn't plan any of this. This is all just kind of came out
That's the
of,
best way to do it.
well, I'll tell you, it really taught us how to listen to our customers,
Yeah,
the people who, and oh, by the way, we maintain direct, communication with customers who buy our product on a daily basis. And, a lot of them were saying, "It's gotta take a break from what I'm doing. I have to consciously, put this in hot water. I have to let it steep for 4 minutes. I give it a good smush with a spoon and then drink it. And that gives me some time during the day where I may be stressed out. I may be trying this instead of reaching for a bag of Cheetos.
right.
Um, and it really helps calm me down. And oh, by the way, we've been drinking broth for thousands of years. Who used to give you broth to make you feel better when you were sick, right? That is, it's just inherent in every culture. And we've really tapped into that as well. You know, Again, with the wellness part of it, your mental wellness is as important as your nutrition. And we're hearing that from dietitians, nutritionists who've come in contact with our product, that it's such a global fit for a lot of things. We didn't come up with the idea of broth. We just made it more convenient and and affordable to make, because you're making it a fresh cup right in front of your eyes.
And it's more flavorful. broth is sort of boring, right? The chicken
Right.
broth or beef broth. Um, but yeah, it's we're have a couple of clients in the tea business, and they always make that pitch of, manage stress and anxiety, take that time out to drink a cup of tea in the afternoon. But it really, it's a very as much as people drink a lot of tea around the world, it's in this country, it's really difficult. It's sort of a very small market compared to coffee. Everybody drinks coffee, but this, what I find is, again, like I said, at the end of the day, or towards the end of the day, when I'm working, I still want something hot and I don't want another cup of coffee. So this is a good alternative because I'm not a big tea drinker. I've tried tea in the past and it just doesn't work for me. But this is more flavorful. And you're right. It sort of, uh, it sort of takes away that hunger pain for a little bit, you know?
Yeah, the savoriness is really the key. I mean, we don't make a secret of that the savory is satiating,
Yeah.
and that's really the magic of this. Hot, savory, drink really.
Yeah, fairly simple idea, hard to execute, and but it defines a new category. So, but I would imagine you had the idea, you made the first batches, I'm assuming, in your kitchen. Like you said, you opened up some tea bags, put it in there. It's a big difference to go from that to scaling production on a large scale. So you must have gone through a lot of challenges in that respect.
Can I use the word agonizing challenges? Yeah. Uh, you know, I was talking to someone last night, and they were saying, what what is the biggest tool in your arsenal that you've used to get through these challenges and these hoops? And Lori and I, we really don't consider ourselves experts in the food business. Yeah, we've created a couple of award-winning products. I mean, Millie's won Outstanding Hot Beverage of the Year at the Fancy Food Show in New York. First time a broth had ever won that. Um, and so, yeah, you could say, "Oh, you know what you're doing," but we really don't think about it that way. But we do what we the tool that we have is that we're really good problem solvers, and we come at these problems from the outside. We always think of ourselves as outsiders in this business, and that's good and bad. The bad part of it is we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
Okay. um we may be thinking, oh, we can do that, and everyone's like, what are you talking about? That's insane. Which is the idea in the first place was a little insane. The good part is that we're not bound by any constraints. So when we think about solutions, such as, oh, by the way, the company that's making your product is burning your ingredients, and your customers are complaining, and you're wondering what's going on, and they're not telling you what they're doing. It requires thinking outside of the box. Not only how do you confront them, but how do you transition away and find a solution that's going to work long term. What do you do when you encounter a batch of the product that all of a sudden tastes different? How do you deal with that?
Oh yeah.
So I think that we have been fortunate in being able to know when it's time to look for outside resources to help us get to the next level. We're not, some companies, they say this is the best you can do with us, and they're not saying, oh, go find someplace else. They think that that's all you can do. And we've come to learn that in order to grow, you just have to keep looking. You have to keep options open. You have to really be innovative. The other day we were faced with a problem, and Lori and I were talking about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. I went down the path of doing some research, and thank God I did, because now that research is going to be applicable to the problem we just encountered. And so you just never know. You have to
Yeah.
be open to a lot of things.
Yeah. I would imagine finding a co-packer was probably one of the hardest things because it's such a unique product. Who do you go to? The tea guys or the, you know,
We, like I said, we crush two categories together, and that is not for the faint of heart.
right.
There are people who they do a certain kind of business, and that's all they want to do because they're worried about their equipment. Our products are different weights and densities of different ingredients. The basil plays differently with the tomato. Um, and so yeah, I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with people who just didn't understand or didn't believe in what we're doing. And thankfully, I didn't stop,
Yeah.
because otherwise we would have, not made it past our very initial stages.
Yeah. I was in the beauty business for many years early on. And, we started down the path with this manufacturer, and we got on the shopping channel, HSN in Florida, and they gave us 9 months later we were going to launch, and we started down the path with this manufacturer, and it became quite clear after about 3 months 4 months that they weren't going to be able to handle it, weren't going to be able to do it, and we wound up having to scramble to find another manufacturer, which is, especially the way that we were doing it, because our products were raw. We weren't emulsifying with heat, things like that. And so we wound up with a manufacturer that we actually liked so much that we made them a partner in the business, because they were fantastic. And I don't think we would have made it if we didn't find them. We wouldn't have been able to execute.
I look at those things as opportunities to grow. I mean, seriously, because you're forced to look outside of the constraints, really,
Right.
and that is a constraint, and you have to be able to understand that and move beyond it.
I had a Vern Harnish on a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you know who he is, but he wrote a book called Scaling Up and some other things, Rockefeller Habits. He's a really brilliant guy when it comes to scaling businesses. And he said, we were talking about COVID and the challenges that COVID brought about, and some other things. And he said, I look at challenges and I coach people with challenges, that challenges become opportunities, because those challenges everybody's faced with, but you can figure out, if you can figure out a way around it, you can figure out what to do with that challenge or make it work for you. Then it's going to be great. So it changes your perspective a bit when you start looking at it that way.
I mean, the challenges are painful sometimes,
Oh yeah.
no doubt. I mean, I've had many sleepless nights, worrying about certain things, but it's just really, I kind of blind optimism, right? So we don't know what we don't know, and we just keep moving forward with the path that we know we need to be on.
I think entrepreneurs in general have blind optimism when they come up with a product that they're proud of and that they create. And the key to it all is just to show up and keep moving forward. If you start too many times, entrepreneurs hit a wall and then they want to quit. They say, "Oh, it's not going to work. I can't get it done," and they wind up walking away, which doesn't help. You have to see it through. And if you fail, you fail. You're not going to die, but so.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that's why, some people say, what is the best piece of advice that I would give people? And it's basically get your product into some place where people will pay for it and consume it, and as quickly as possible. Don't think about it too much.
Yeah, we've talked about that an awful lot on this show with entrepreneurs and people who have founded businesses. Is get the product out there, find out how the customer perceives it, get some customer reaction, find a customer that's going to buy the product, and then talk to them. And I think you said you keep in touch with a lot of your customers, which is, which is great. Because a lot of people don't do it. I have always advocated, when I was in the beauty business and when I was in the shaving business, we were direct to consumer first. We eventually got into Ulta Beauty, Sephora, and all that. But we were direct to consumer first, and one of the first brands on Amazon outside of book CDs and all that, back in 2006. And all the people who every Friday I used to call 5 customers, the ones that were the most vocal about something happened. I don't care what it was. I didn't, it was the shipment didn't go out in time. It was damaged, whatever it was. And then you hear from them, and you listen, and first of all they'll tell you everything that you do wrong, which is a great thing. And then but inside there are little nuggets of things to make you better. It's the same thing with reviews on Amazon. A lot of people look at reviews and go, oh, the customer was just crabby. That's not true. You look at a review, they're going to tell you what the problem is with your product, and you can make changes. You can decide to make changes, you can ignore it, at which point it's always going to catch up with you.
Oh, and as an entrepreneur, you're making, you're saying what about my baby?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a hard pill to swallow.
Sometimes I I sometimes the hard part for me was always getting yelled at by customers. Like, if you call them up, the guy, the guy didn't get his razor blades when he was supposed to, and then they start yelling at you. That's always the most difficult. But I learned to just let them vent, and then you say, then you start talking to them. That's always been the hardest part for me. I never get insulted about the product. I never get insulted if you don't like the product. I want to know why you didn't like the product, and then we can go back and fix, what you didn't like about the product. But yeah, you're 100% right. We do get a little bit protective of what we create, but at the same time, I've learned I don't really get that emotional about the actual product anymore.
It's something that we've had to learn. Absolutely. I mean, we still, it's still, here's a great example. Giving out samples of our product to people, and, having them taste it right on the spot. And someone who may be sensitive to, let's say, a certain ingredient going, ooh, I don't like that. And then,
Yeah.
it's hard to kind of go, wait a minute, we've made like several million of these. And, so, I think people like it, but yeah, you have to get a little bit of a thick skin.
Yeah, some people just, you're never going to please them. They're always going to have something to complain about, or they're sensitive about something, and you can't please everybody, which is fine. But you have to learn how to sort through that to get to the nugget of what really is important, right? There are some people that are just never going to buy from you again, never going to like you. They didn't like whatever you were selling. In our case, eye cream or the face cream or whatever. And then we had people picking apart the ingredients, every single ingredient, and then sending us nastygrams. You can't say that you're natural and organic because you have this in there, and you're going, well, it's naturally derived. So, I mean, there's different ways to get things. So anyway, but those are the things that, you just have to learn to listen. But when you hear that kind of thing, you just figure, this is how I have to now talk about the product in a different way. Right.
Right. Right. And that's key. I mean, that listening, and it never stops, and it never should stop.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, how did you approach the whole branding and storytelling piece? I mean, it seems to me that you didn't sit down and write a branding plan. You just sort of started going, and the branding sort of happened.
Yeah. And I think we like everything, we approached everything backwards, and what was convenient. But it was all real. I mean, Millie is the name of my wife's mother, who used to bring us together around food, bring the family around food, to talk and to get together and comfort us. So we figured, okay, that's a great place to start. We'll start with Millie. We're paying tribute to a family member. Millie's no longer with us. In fact, she didn't get to see us create the product, but her face is on every single box.
Yeah.
And it's and then the story of Lori creating this out of a need as a teacher, it's just the way it happened. And so for us, we weren't really looking for elaborate stories or anything like that. It was just literally, this is how it happened. Now, condensing all of that to a very manageable 1 or 2 sentences was a challenge.
Yeah.
Picking out the most important parts, was a challenge. And it's funny because, after we created it, it took a little while to kind of, get that story down, but we ended up going back to just how it started, literally it. And that's what resonated with people. And we realized that we didn't need to do anything else because it didn't have to. I was at the Fancy Food Show last week, and there was an investor forum. And one of the investors was talking about origins, of these branding stories and that kind of stuff, and talking about how the ones that are so elaborate are just so unnecessary, but the
Right.
ones that are the simplest to understand, those are the ones that stand out.
Yeah.
And so we were I was very pleased with our decision about that.
Yeah. It is a great name because that name sort of, it's a very simple name, and it's very, you can relate to it. I think everybody has a Millie in their life, right? Everybody has a grandma or an aunt or an uncle named Millie. And so it is a great name. And the branding story, it is a simple story, and they're 100% right. If you look at the brands that have launched over the last 10 years that have been successful, they all have a personality attached to them, and they all have a very simple story. And the investors want that. They want to know that a product can scale. They want to know that it's unique, and that the story is simple to tell.
Right. Yeah. I mean, a snack created by a smarter snack created by a teacher.
Yeah.
It can't get smart. You can't get more condensed than that. And we are very fortunate that we've incorporated personality into this. And that's another thing that people ask me about. They go, what makes you stand out? And I said, well, it's our personality, right? It's Broth. Okay. You go on the shelf and you see, all these different kinds of, products, Campbell's and all this kind of stuff. But we're this literally came from, a person's influence in our lives, and and that's so unique. You can't take that away from us.
No.
And we're going to stand out just because of that. And, again, not something we set out to do, but we felt like it was a natural fit.
Yeah, it's the best stories, or the best brand stories, are the ones that just happened naturally and organically, versus sitting down and trying to plan every step of the way. It just doesn't. It never works out, in my opinion. It never works out when you're trying to plan it every step of the way. And today's consumer wants to be able to relate to a product that they're buying. They don't want it to be Campbell's. They don't want it to be Progresso. They want to know where their product is coming from and who created it and what the story is, which today we can do much, much better, getting that across with video, with short form video, online and on social media, which is highly effective. But that's really what people are gravitating towards. They don't like big, Procter and Gamble can come out with a new product, or General Mills or General Foods. That's boring to them.
Yeah, we've noticed that people go out of their way. I mean, we recently launched in Sam's Club at the beginning of January, and almost daily since then, people have gone out of their way to reach out to us to say, "I just discovered this at Sam's Club, and I really like it."
Yeah.
Like, okay, that hasn't happened before to us. I mean, where, we just went into a retailer and people are going out of their way to do that. feels really special. I
Yeah.
mean, it feels really special. And, luckily we have a direct way of communicating with these people and telling them thank you. We send them a little note. If you can see, this is our broth sloth. We
Yeah.
send them a little note from our broth sloth telling them thank you.
Yeah.
To sip slow and stay cozy. But yeah, I think that if we had done this 10 years ago, having that connection through social media and through various other means wouldn't have been there. I think it's a very unique time in history for products to evolve.
Yeah. I think it's a good point. I do think that in the past, probably 10 years, we have seen smaller brands come into the market with better stories. It used to be dominated by bigger companies coming out with a new product and then shoving it down the customer's throat, going into a supermarket, giving you coupons, and customers just aren't responding to that anymore. They're not responding to traditional ads. It doesn't work for them. You can sit there and say, oh, this is the best, this is this. It doesn't work for them anymore. You really have to have a story. Social media plays a huge part in it. And you got to be able to tell that story simply. The customer wants to know who it is, who's behind the brand. They don't want, I'll give you an example. There was a bar out there, an energy bar, and my daughters were eating it. They're young, they're in their 20s. They were eating these bars, and they thought, oh, this is really good. And then because it looked like, and it was positioned as a startup brand. But then when they looked, they realized that it was made by this massive company, and it totally turned them off to it, because they said, "Well, now I don't know what's in it. No, now I don't know if I can trust it because it's such and such," and so they gave up on it, and which I thought was an interesting thing. This generation, 20, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds that are becoming the new consumers, they're very picky about where they're going to spend their money, and they want to know who they're giving their money to.
We, part of the feedback from.
You there, Lance? Hello, Lance? Lance? Are you there, buddy? I lost you. Well, I'm not sure what happened here. I guess we lost Lance. Looks like some sort of internet
We need
connection.
to redesign our. Are you there, Phil?
Yeah, I'm here. We lost you for a little bit.
We lost you for a little. Part of the feedback was that we needed to appeal to a younger demographic. Walmart wants to bring in younger demographic to the soup aisle.
Yeah.
And we were very agreeable to, listening to the buyer's feedback. And so new packaging is coming for the next reset. But on every packet, on every one of these, on all of our boxes, it says, "We know you'll like it, Lance and Lori." How much more personal can you get?
Sure.
And again, we didn't plan that. It's just, it felt right to us that we needed to have that connection and to show you, hey, we're real people that created this.
Yeah. No, it's great. So for other aspiring entrepreneurs, what's the one piece of advice that you would give?
Don't quit your day job. Do not. I mean, Lori and I worked 2 and 3 jobs simultaneously, and we basically decided that we were going to do that until it was so difficult to do everything that we had to make a choice.
Right.
Do not quit your day job at all. That's the one piece of advice that I would give.
Yeah, I think a lot of young entrepreneurs, I mentor at the University of Maryland School of Entrepreneurship, and I find that the younger guys all put together their business plans, and they think that they're going to go out, present the business plan, walk away with a $10 million check from investors, and then start. And I keep saying it's just not the way it's going to happen. I've raised money before, and it's not going to happen that way. And I think that too many times young entrepreneurs raise money too fast. It's almost like a badge of honor to say I've raised money from a private equity firm or from a venture capital firm. So we're always cautious about that type of thing. But you're 100% right. It's better to bootstrap it. It's better to just keep your day job, keep focused on it, and then build it from there. And when the time is right, the time is right.
You have to build a really solid foundation, starting with a minimum viable product, an MVP product like we did, and iterate,
Yeah.
improve. That doesn't mean spending millions of dollars on marketing before you have a solid concept. And it's tempting to do that. Again, like you and I talked about before, Phil, the Me Too products have to do that because it's already established. Another barbecue sauce. Oh boy. Okay. Now you got to really just, you got to set yourself apart somehow. But when you're innovating and it's really solving a need, it's a real need. There's a big difference.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think marketing is changing, even for us when we take on clients. We tell them all the time, you can't scale your business by running ads. It will put you out of business. You can spend millions of dollars, but it's not going to get you anything. And people don't believe us. I mean, we have people that go, no, I want to keep running ads. And you're going, yeah, there's a different way, there's a different approach. And we always give them the ones that we know in depth, the Grazes of the world, the Truffs of the world, on how they scaled, how they got started, Harry's Razors. We'll show them specifically, these are the steps these guys took. And it wasn't about running ads. It was about, making a connection with the customer, using social media, using, video, getting micro influencers to use the product, things like that. So I agree.
Yeah. Part of our marketing, and I'll make no secret of it, is getting our product into food service. Imagine, Phil, the next flight you took and the beverage cart came down and they said, would you like coffee, tea, or broth?
Right.
What do you think? I mean, do you think that would be a good fit?
Oh, I think so. It would be great.
Or the next time you're in the hospital and you're in recovery, and instead of the hot salt water that they gave you like an amazing tasting Thai lemongrass broth that you made like right there. I mean, that probably make you feel a little bit better, right?
You don't have to sell me. I'm sold. I started using it, like I said, I really started using it the last couple of days, so you don't have to sell me. But Lance, really thank you for sharing that incredible journey. It was really great. We're out of time, but keep life tasty. And your story reminds us about how to be successful without having to go the traditional routes, and you can create something that's truly meaningful. So I appreciate you coming on, and I love the product. It's in Walmart. I'm assuming you can buy it on your website and
sippingbroth.com. You can buy it on Amazon.
Yeah.
We would love for you to taste it, test it out, give it to friends. That's the best. To put it in your company break room. That would be awesome.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. All right. Thank you. And we will see you guys next week.
Thank you, Phil. It's been a pleasure.